Hi everyone and welcome to Film Market Hub Talks. My name's Rosalind. Today we are going to be doing a roundtable with the selected projects from last year's UK Online Pitchbox.
Okay, so when I applied, we applied for Pitchbox. ICE was really, it was the beginning of the process. So the screenplay was well developed. However, in terms of industry, we had not exposed the project to the industry yet. So it was pretty much the first market we applied for, and we wanted to know whether there was some kind of interest or not in the UK versus the US.
I think it being in the UK is a big thing, because a lot of the co-production markets, especially for genre, in our case a genre project, happen to be elsewhere around the world. But we're from the UK. The project will most likely be made in the UK or Ireland. So being a London-centered hub made a lot of sense with this project.
It really seems like a good opportunity to get in front of industry execs and to get feedback on the project, which we think is quite close to a finished or ready to go project, and hopefully to get some traction with interested parties. We were hoping maybe to get it going, really, to actually get to filming it.
It was a very positive thing to be doing during lockdown as well. So, it's something you could really get your teeth into when you couldn't be doing much else.
I think we probably saw an advertisement on either Instagram or Facebook. Probably, I think it was Facebook. And as we were just kind of finishing up our screenplay, it was really good timing. And I think what attracted us was to see what kind of, executives from companies are coming to the event. And there were some notable names there, so that was quite attractive. And we just gave it a go to see what happens.
Kind of echoing what Norm was saying, really. Like, I think we I think it was me that saw like an advert somewhere, and I was like, oh, I think we should go for this, and we were like, sure. And then it was just like exciting to see that you can get to pitch to like quite big names. I think that's quite exciting as well, like a competition where you're not just going for like one company or sort of like a prize. You've actually got a chance to kind of get in the room and sell your project to sort of some really exciting names. So that was kind of a big attraction for us.
And I think also we just really wanted to keep going during lockdown. We wanted to be proactive. We really believed in the project, and it was, I'm sure this is quite common, but we were so frustrated. So it was just brilliant to be, even though in the midst of all of that, to be able to keep going with it and keep pushing it and keep up some momentum.
Yeah.
I think just to echo what everybody else has said, really, it was kind of the frustration last year of just being locked down and not being able to do all the things that we'd normally want to do with things. The last time I stepped on a film set was 16 months ago. And that's the longest stint since I was a kid. So it's just, I think this is kind of one of those kind of situations where it started popping up on my Instagram and my Facebook, and I was like, do you know what? I've not done an online pitch before. I do much prefer to kind of sit in the room with somebody and kind of see the whites of their eyes and see the whites of mine, because I do strongly believe that people do business with people. But given that we're all stuck behind our computers, allowed out for a 1 hour walk a day to get your Greggs or whatever is your poison. It just felt like really good timing. Strong believer in the universe, kind of sending signals and signs and little opportunities to kind of keep us all going. And for us, it was kind of like, okay, we've just started this TV kind of side of things. We've worked in film on and off for 25 years, but the market seems to be shifting over to the streaming platforms. So to that long form drama, this could be an opportunity for us to meet people that we don't know, and probably wouldn't get anywhere near, because we'd be put into the pigeonhole of being filmmakers. So that was kind of what attracted us to Pitchbox.
So like everybody else said, it was what attracted us was the very active opportunity that the Pitchbox gives us, because other competitions that kind of like, if you win or if you're a finalist or semi-finalist, they will, present your script to their own contacts. But, Film Market Hub, they give you the chance to actually pitch it yourself and be actively seeking contacts for yourself that can also, they say even if the project doesn't go anywhere, you have these contacts for your future. So to me, it's a more precious opportunity than just entering a screenwriting competition. So that's what really excited us, especially at the other sides in a lockdown period in which we were a bit spirited as well. So it was a nice adrenaline, event for us.
Yeah, I'd echo that. Film and television is quite cliquey, so it's often quite hard to sort of get in front of people if you don't have access to agents or if you don't know someone. So it was just a great opportunity, as we've all sort of touched upon, to network and to meet new individuals in the industry and to talk to them about our projects.
I don't know if anyone's left me anything to say additionally to contribute, but yeah, it was obviously, I found it on social media as well, and the appeal was getting your foot in the door with these people, of course, whether it was virtual or not, and that seemed to work out really well, but that is obviously the thing that's really, it seems to be very, very difficult. They're very elusive, they're very busy people, so the lineup that you guys presented us with was really, really great. So I think that's really just the paramount reason that we were super keen.
It was already ready to go out. Basically, I was just about to start co-production markets, because with ICE, we did the Sophia meetings. Actually, you guys were the first one, which was great. So that was the first co-production market, the first pitching session we did. And then we had Sophia meetings, Frontiers, and NAFIT at BIFAN. So basically, we're just on the verge of being ready to be pitched when we applied for it. No, the screenplay was ready, the pitch decks, the lookbooks, but no, we are not done the round yet of pitching it to execs and financiers and distributors, right?
Yeah. As Stephanie said, I think the script was well developed, but what's great about doing these hubs or co-production markets, it kind of forces you to practice your pitch, your presentation. It means you have a deadline to get your presentation materials, your lookbook and pitch deck and a poster and all those kind of materials that you can be lazy about, but when there's meetings coming up and you have to talk to executives, you practice your pitch, you make sure your pitch deck has got the best pictures and the synopsis is as good as it can be, and it makes you refine all your materials and refocus on your project with intensity.
I used the deadlines absolutely to get everything ready. So we are very deadline oriented.
So the script was well developed, but what it allowed us to do to being selected was to really focus in on all the presentation materials and how we would present the project to executives, and it was really helpful.
And also the meaning of the project. We went deeper than normal, I would say.
So we'd been pretty close already. The previous year we were within about a week of closing on the film when the money didn't come through. So when we did Pitchbox, we reevaluated all the material. We made our pitch deck look completely different. We took it from being something that was already reasonably visual, but we made it look like a dating website to make it more interesting. We do quite a lot of corporate work as well. The opportunity to do a 5-minute video and pack in as much information as possible was really useful. So where you can normally play something, we could do a really slick edit. We could show some of our test scenes. We could go through showing clips of the films that we liked it to organize, and it's sort of thing we wouldn't necessarily have done. It gave us a new focus.
It just made us refocus, I think we did a bit of research into other people's decks and realized that maybe it needed a bit of rebranding. And I mean, that's really where it took us.
That's that whole thing, is it gave us a focus and a reason to look back at it, and to realize that, you know, put some of the personality that you want to show people. That was a really good opportunity to show that.
Is always like deadlines are brilliant, aren't they? They just give you that opportunity to focus and you know, improve your project to the next level, and especially when you're going to be pitching it and marketing it online.
Yeah,
it's a whole different challenge, isn't it? You don't have that face-to-face experience, but it challenges you to kind of perhaps improve in other areas that you might not have done before. So
learning to memorize pictures again, you know, being able to read out a whole page that you've rehearsed in your head. That's something I don't do every day.
And I think, don't you think that like pitching actually makes you very self-aware whether you know your project or not?
Yeah, yeah.
We were still writing the screenplay when we saw the ad for the event. So yeah, like with other people here, I guess that gave us a good deadline to aim at. So we had to finish it before, which we did. So yeah, we were at the first kind of draft stage when we entered. I think, yeah, it was good to prepare the pitch, you know. I haven't done much of that kind of pitching before, so it was good practice to kind of really, you know, narrow down on what your film is, get clear about everything, and just rehearse it and do it live. You know, it was a good experience, which can be valuable, I guess, in the future as well.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember how prepared we were. It feels like so long ago now. In lockdown time, it's like 8 years ago, right? But no, we had, because we've got a number of projects in development, I think it was in a pretty good shape. It's one of our sort of most favourite and most complete things that we have going on. So I think it was in pretty good shape. With the pitching thing for us, you know, we come in from a background in commercials, so we're constantly pitching. So putting together the materials and things is something that we really sort of enjoy, and I think we're sort of quite good at. The live element of it, maybe I need a bit more practice at, particularly in this sort of Zoom environment, is kind of tricky. But no, that was it really. I'm not sure what else to add, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so I think we were a few drafts in, and you know, Pitchbox was a really good opportunity for us to sort of have it be public facing, in the sense that as writers, the project often sort of just lives in your heads and you sort of obsess about it and you think about it and you're just constantly sort of focusing on it. But actually what's useful about, particularly when you're sort of doing long form television, is when you're speaking to people about it, you see their reaction to it, you see sort of what appeals to them about it, and it actually helps you not only reorganize or think about revising the script, but also how you present it to people. So yeah, for us, it was really, really useful in that sense, for just getting us to hone in on what people like about it and what it means to them, and also being able to sort of basically sum it up in 2 minutes, which is hard for, you know, long form television with lots of plots and characters.
And we had the visual pitch deck, but we didn't have, for example, the video presentation that, you know, was required for the pitch. So that was a good opportunity to actually get on it and do the best that we could, so that, you know, now we have it. So it was, yeah, we were at that point in which we had to kind of like to fine tune some of our material.
I think I had a typo-filled first draft in my inbox from Darren, who wrote it, which he'd been nagging me to read for ages. I hadn't had time, because I was firefighting at the beginning of lockdown, just kind of dealing with all of the kind of the consequences of just everything being shut down overnight, as we all were. So yeah, basically, Darren and I had talked about a year earlier about the fact that things were moving towards a kind of that it might be easier to kind of get product out there through television rather than film. I mean, Ros, you know exactly what it's like, you know, making films. You know, you think that the battle is making the film. The battle is not making the film. And you only realize that once you've kind of, you know, you've slept for a couple of days after you've wrapped, and you go, right, now what do I do with it? Get through the edit, you get through that process, and then you've got your final product, and it's like, who do I sell it to? and what's its audience and where's its market. And if it's independent film, this process can take 1, 2, 3 years sometimes, by which point some smarty pants will have come along and made something which is similar to yours or better than yours, and that's it, it's all over. So yes, I think I was Mother's Day shopping and I was in HMV, and I was grabbing the latest Andre Roux concert for my grandmother, and I realized that she had all of the 16 DVDs of his that were available. But I turned around in HMV and there was this kind of, the television section was 80% of the store, and I just saw box set after box set after box set. And I just released my second film as a director, and it had been a tricky distribution. And I kind of realized that, do you know what? Maybe we're coming at this from the wrong angle. Maybe by investing all of this time and all this money into a 2-hour piece of drama that people know about for 2 weeks and then kind of can easily disappear into the ether, isn't the best kind of business model. And maybe coming up with characters and stories that you can tell season after season and develop, longer story arcs was maybe the way forward. So I'd kind of tasked Darren with going off and thinking about a few story ideas that could be developed. And he delivered the pilot drafts, pilot scripts for 2 of the 3 seasons, a couple of months before Pitchbox kind of started popping up on my Instagram. And as I said, because of what was going on, I hadn't had that much time to kind of really give it that much attention. But then I was like, okay, I've got 2 features that are ready to go, but I kind of feel that the future might be for us in the television sphere. So it was a real scramble to get kind of everything ready. We had no pitch deck, we had no key art. I had to draft in a friend of mine who does posters for Netflix in the UK, and call in massive favors. Obviously, because it was an online presentation, I was concerned about not being able to kind of put across the best spin on any project. So it was kind of like maybe looking at people who could help put together a pitch video. So we had none of the assets in place, is the short answer. Nothing was in place. And of course, like everybody on this call, none of us expected to get selected, because you don't submit to these things and go, right, I need to block out that day in July for that. You just go, yeah, it's somebody else's gig and good luck to them, but it was a really good experience kind of doing it. So then obviously I got the text message on the morning of announcement going, by the way, you do know you've been you've been selected, and your other project is a special recommendation. And I was just like, oh my goodness, right, we've got an awful lot of work to do. So that was kind of, I think we found out at the beginning of June, and that took up an entire month, just getting all of these elements together, because this was our shot to talk to people that we wouldn't normally get access to. The people that were on the call all get bombarded day in, day out by people that they've never met. And this was our opportunity to kind of be the 7 people that got access to them. And I think Jessica mentioned perhaps a little bit earlier, just that kind of contacts, for the future. Even if it isn't for these projects, it would be an opportunity to kind of go, oh, do you remember we pitched you this project? Well, this is what we're doing now. But yeah, it was a crazy month.
Well, I think we were quite far along on the script, Elaine, weren't we?
Yeah.
Although sort of what we do every time we finish a draft is basically spend about 15 years patting ourselves on the back and being like, oh God, it's so great. And then we said we should give it to Ella, and she tells us we need to do another draft.
Quite quickly.
But yeah, I think the script was quite far along, but when we got selected for the pitch, I think that really helped us to sort of reinterrogate like what we were selling and what we were presenting. And I think from memory, a key thing for our project was working out the returnability of it. And, part of where the project came from was the idea that, we sort of felt like there was this universe of like weddings that was sort of ripe for exploring. But actually, in terms of when we were selling it and presenting it, we realized that what really needed to be front and center was that it was a buddy comedy, that it's these 2 central characters at the heart of it. And it's the characters that is going to be the returnability of it. So I think that was sort of what the selection made us interrogate.
Yeah, and we spent quite a pitch as well, because I think oftentimes when you're pitching comedy, if you're not funny in that pitch, even if the script is good, people are kind of like, so it's kind of trying to find the art meets commerce of the pitch, which we spent quite a lot of time trying to get the salient facts across, but also be absolutely hilarious and adorable. Took us a little longer than it should have done. So.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, it was firstly very nice to hear that people didn't think our idea was shit. So that was a huge positive for us. And, you know, it was a bit weird having to kind of recycle your sort of 10-minute window with each person telling each thing. And I think what became very clear to us very quickly was that the project was one thing, of course, but the chemistry with the people that you're talking to is the thing that you're really trying to find. And we, because whether it's this project or another project, you want to be able to go back to them and say, look, I felt like we got on and maybe we liked our project, but it wasn't right at this time for this reason, but we've got this other thing. And from the event, we had 3 people that were quite interested in our project who we did follow-ups with. One of them went away quite early on, and the other 2 hung around for a little while, and they sadly the project then went kind of higher up in their chain at their companies, and then for various reasons, I think in both cases actually it was because they had a similar project on slate that they then decided it was a bit of a clash with, despite the fact we disagreed. But those relationships are still active, so we are still in contact with them. They were very keen to know if we had other stuff going on, which we do, and we have their personal contact details to get in touch with them as and when we have stuff to show them that's ready, and that's obviously really, really great. I think it's just trying to keep those embers burning a bit so that we don't lose contact with them, and that energy is not lost a bit. It was mostly really, really positive actually, and I think that the 2 people we're still in contact with, you know, they're kind of, that relationship feels solid because they were kind of into what we're about, if you want to call it that, like comedy and tonality wise, what we're trying to write in projects, and also like quite easily felt like we could all go for a beer and have a chat. So that's, I think that's the sort of connections that is really important, and then really positive.
So I think we were really lucky that there was a company that there were a few people that, I mean, people on the day responded generally really positively, which was really, you know, validating, and that was really nice. And then afterwards we had a sort of bit of interest from a few companies, and one of those, you know, we were really fortunate, and they, you know, continued to really like it, and their team liked it, and they put an option in for the project, which, you know, which was amazing, and we were, you know, really excited about. And you know, we've gone away and done more work on the project, and I think we've taken the script to the next level, hopefully, and, you know, sort of dug into it deeper.
Again, we kind of had the dream. We had the dream reaction. We met people that were like really enthused by it, as enthused as we were, which is always good. And and they wanted to put their money where their mouth was, and that's also brilliant. You get a lot of lip service, but they were down for it. So so it pretty much went as well as it could have gone, as she says, gripping the wooden table really hard. It was great. It was great.
That's fantastic. We won't ask who, because obviously you can't tell us yet, but that is fantastic news. Very well deserved. And yeah, we look forward to following the journey with you and hearing more as and when, but fantastic news.
Yeah, so it was a very positive experience to us, because even on the meetings, people responded very positively, and they also gave us feedback. And yeah, as Michael said, I think the most important thing was finding that chemistry to build up contacts for the future. After the event, I think three people read the script and gave us their feedback as well on the script, which was super helpful. And yeah, as Michael said, we had a similar experience in terms of like they had the same genre projects already in development. Also, one of them, like, we're still reading, because they also requested a TV series Bible, and we just had a pitching deck that was a little bit lacking, so we had to kind of like rush a TV series Bible basically from scratch. And yeah, and they're reading it now, and so it's an ongoing project. It's a shot in the dark, but we're very grateful that we got that context, because we also contacted them later for another feature project that we had that you know, they read as well, they gave us feedback. So it's an ongoing process, but we were very lucky to form these contacts that otherwise we wouldn't have, basically. So,
yeah. I've got really nothing else to add. I mean, that pretty much sums it up, really. Yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and we've managed to get some new contacts as a result of it. So great.
So we were the team that had a technical glitch on the day. So we used our 7 minutes with a minute and a half of introduction, and then we had a video that we were playing for 3.5 minutes, and then we were kind of wrapping up for the last kind of 30 seconds or so. And yeah, on the day, our video started 1 minute in. So we were all chatting just as all of us were, kind of while waiting for the execs to watch the video. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're back on. And it's just like, hang on a minute, we're not, oh, okay, right. And then you kind of get back to your speech. And we didn't realize what had gone on, what had gone wrong until a couple of pitches in. So basically the execs that we pitched to didn't obviously see all the video. They got into the video just to the bit where I was talking about my experience and banging on about all the stuff I'd done, but they didn't actually hear anything about Local Boys. So we spent our 15-minute sessions kind of having to re-pitch the video, which was a bit awkward, to be honest. You know, these things happen. It was really unfortunate. It did make it a bit awkward because obviously you kind of put all of that, you know, put a lot of effort into that pitch video. And yeah, but you know, you're in these situations, and everybody was really understanding and kind. And to be honest, we kind of concentrated on building the relationships with the people we were pitching to. You know, as I said earlier in this, people do business with people, so kind of concentrating on kind of you know, people, because of where they dove into our pitch video, they inevitably kind of started asking, oh guys, you know, well, how did you do what you did, you know, with your previous projects? And it's, you know, it was kind of so they were kind of interested in us as film and hopefully TV makers as much as in the project. So yeah, I would say we developed kind of, you know, 3, maybe 4 kind of really fruitful contacts from our 8 that may not be right for Local Boys. I mean, one of the things everybody's talked about this, Michael and Jessica have talked about it, that idea that you've got a project which is a bit similar on their slate. We had that with a couple of the companies that we had our best kind of connect with, which is unfortunate, but you know, it's just the way it is, and it's best to know now. And that's the whole point of kind of not having one project you're trying to make. It's having a diverse slate, so you can go, all right, well, this one's not for you, but we do have something else that might be interesting. Even if it's not ready at that stage, it's something you can go back to them with later. And so that's kind of where we've ended up. We went off, we shared decks on the 2 projects that we had, Local Boys and an 1800s set TV series called Copper Kings, which is about the just after the abolition of the slave trade, where it's kind of sneakily going on underground, which is kind of like a really sinister backstory to my hometown of Swansea that I had no idea about until a couple of years ago. It was a bigger budget project to Local Boys. We got put in touch with a couple of production companies that one of the companies that we were pitching to thought would be good partners to look at some of these projects as well, because it does feel like a little bit of a cliquey close shot. I think was it Patrick that you mentioned this earlier, that there are half a dozen, possibly a dozen companies that the TV companies do business with, and if you don't go in through them or with them on board, you're not going to really get anywhere. So yeah, I guess we've kind of walked away from it, kind of going back to the material, working out, for example, with Local Boys, the budget was too high, just wasn't going to warrant that kind of investment from a TV company in it, whereas with something like the Copper Kings, the budget was absolutely spot on, because you just need that money to be able to kind of tell a story set in the past. So it's been about going back to the material, recalibrating it correct for the market, having taken on board everybody's feedback, and also packaging things up. I think sometimes filmmakers can come at these things, particularly if the script writers go, I have this script. And that's great, you can have the best script in the world. But what these people want is a project that's ready to go. They want to be able to influence the project. They want to be able to kind of say, well, you need to change this and that. You need to get rid of that bit of casting. But they want you to have thought about these things in the first place and go in there with your ideas, because otherwise it's like you win a prize. We're going to take your script off you. We're going to go make your film or your TV show for you. And that doesn't happen. You know, it's a lot of hard work from everybody to kind of make something like this happen. So that's kind of what we garnered from our experience.
Thanks, Ben. It's great you're still in touch with those companies, because that's, you know, sometimes it's all about timing, isn't it? As you said, having the right project at the right time, but once you've got the connections.
It is, and we used that in the Slate document, which kind of circulated with the execs that we met, so they got a better flavour of what we did. And so, yeah, kind of set us up nicely for kind of talking to them in the future too. So it was all good. It was all good. I mean, and that accident that happened with the video kind of just I suppose makes you memorable, but possibly for the wrong reasons.
No, totally. Just to say, we've actually changed the concept now slightly. So we actually are recording pitches before and sending them out to execs for this year, so that they have the pitch, they watch it 2 days before, and then they come straight like into a market, so that we can actually make sure, you know, they get to watch it in their own time, and then they come to the pitch having to do kind of one-to-one meetings online. So that's our new kind of structure for it, just for like anyone, you know, watching. That's the future.
I think that's a really good change. I think that anything you can do that reduces the potential for technical difficulties.
Totally. And also, it was the first year, the first ever online pitchbox. So it was a lot of experimenting for us as well. So yeah, it was awful that happened to you, but I'm so grateful that the relationships continued, and you still got to kind of send material and send you know, you get to send future projects and stuff. But
we had great meetings, but I do sci-fi, and I always had the inkling that it was more of an American project, and so it wasn't quite the right project for the UK companies. So we had excellent meetings. However, I believe in joining dots, because by the time I started doing the frontier co-production market, thanks to the hub, I was ready, because I'd been pitching, I got really good questions. So when I started actually pitching the project, we started pitching the projects to American execs and sales agents, it paid off. And we eventually set up the project with Visit Films in the US, which is great. So basically it was more a case of refining the pitch, joining the dots. So a fluid process, which actually paid off, which started with the hub, really. So that was amazing for us. Yeah.
All the meetings were really good. In fact, we kept running out of time, which is one thing that I think you're probably changing that or working on that, but we didn't. By the time there was a minute left or the final warning, we never got a chance to wrap up and find out, you know, what the interest was or not. And but I think, as Stephanie said, a broader thing in the UK industry is that it's much harder to get interest in genre projects, because there is a bit of snobbishness towards genre projects in the UK compared to the US, we've found. And I used to live in LA for 10 years, so kind of very aware of the differences. So we had more success with the other markets in that respect, because they're more geared towards genre than the UK industry. However, the meetings were very, very good. And I think another thing that was difficult with ICE at the time, given the lockdown had really just started in earnest, was that ICE is about a parasite that causes an apocalyptic end of the world scenario. So, you know, I think that there was, you know, people were more interested in comedy or something that was a bit lighter.
But that was interesting, because by pitching it, I realized, because it's really about improving the humanity of species. And so by having execs at the BIB or BFI asking us questions, it really forced us to come up with the right answers. So that was super helpful, actually. Yes, to find a way to pitch it in spite of the pandemic going on. Yeah,
it definitely helped refine the pitch that, as Stephanie said, resulted in some success at the frontiers, especially because it is literally a genre co-production market, and primarily US and Canadian sales agents and exec producers and finances and so on. So it was a much better fit. And that's no comment to Film Market Hub in any way. It's more of a comment on the difficulty of making genre films in the UK, because they don't win BAFTAs and they don't get support from BFI unless you're already a very successful filmmaker. So that's more of the challenge with our project. So it's no comment on Film Market Hub in any way. All the meetings were fantastic. It's more a comment on the difficulty of making genre films in the UK.
It was a bit of a mixed bag for us. The meetings were all really good. There were a couple of people that immediately said, look, this isn't what we're going to look at. So we said, what sort of stuff do you want to look at in the future? And had a bit of a chat about future projects they might take on if there was going to be anything there. And two of the guys gave us loads of advice, career advice, what to do with your first film and all that sort of stuff. We got interest from 3 parties. The BBC came back very quickly and said it wasn't really for them, but they gave us loads of feedback, why we should, why we shouldn't. The other 2 just never responded. But we have stayed in touch with a couple of the other people. So very disappointing that, just a little bit of feedback would have been great. And then later on, we nearly had success. So we got contacted by a company in a different country that was looking to do co-productions in the UK that's got a slate of partners or partners that make films for them. And we had a Zoom meeting with them, a really big company, and they wanted to make the film much bigger. But we've just heard that they can't secure the partners in the UK. So, but we got really close, and we had meetings with people that were way above what we were expecting to at that point. And they've come back with us and said, look, we're just moving on for the time being, but let's hope we can work on another project together. So, you stay in touch with these people.
Yeah, so I think maybe similar to Stephanie, our genre wasn't quite right. We only had one company that genre was right. So genre was like a quite dark, big post-apocalyptic film. The second issue was the budget was too big for a first feature, which we knew going in, so that wasn't surprising. But we did get some good feedback from one of the companies that the genre was at least right, and got some feedback. And basically, we had similar feedback from other film markets as well. So what I'm doing now is writing another script, much smaller budget, much more doable. So hopefully I can make that as my first feature, and then who knows, maybe from there to do The Border one day. Well, I guess I would say that do your first feature on a smaller budget, which I kind of knew anyway. But The Border was sort of a passion project. It's based on a short film I did before, so I wanted to write it anyway. And it's good to have it written, Secondly, maybe I would say, if there's any writer directors, which really helped me with writing was to get a writing partner. So you can bounce off ideas and really move forward much quicker. That was my first feature script as well. So, and now I'm writing with that partner quite a lot. So that can be useful for someone who's struggling to get going with writing.
I was going to say, go on. Well, I guess I think it's just always worth going for something, isn't it? Because you just never know. And I think, like everyone here's been saying, I think it's such a valuable process to be part of, because obviously there's you hope that the project gets picked up, but if that doesn't happen, then you're still going to be growing it and developing it and learning so much from it. And I think from our point of view, the having such support from Film Market in terms of having that session with Bonnie, who literally turned our pitch from an absolute garbage fire into something that was hopefully well received. So I think I would say all of that would be encouragement to apply. I don't know what do you think, Gracie?
Well, I just think pitching is hateful, it's horrible, but you have to learn to enjoy it. Sounds so counterintuitive, But if you spend months and months and months and you pour a ton of passion and a ton of time and a ton of sweat, blood and tears into a project, and then you bugger it up because you can't pitch to save your life, then that's a disaster. So as much as Rob and I thought we were doing a really good pitch, and then Bonnie was like, that was terrible. That was one of the worst things I've ever done. What are you doing? Because we were trying to be funny and japey, and it was stupid. So we got a lot better. We got a lot better really quickly. So I think just embrace the pitching. It's horrible, but if you get good at it, you'll feel so much better about going in there and just, you know, wowing them.
Well, on my part, I would say the best advice I can give is to actually realize what the Pitchbox opportunity really is about. It's less about, you know, succeeding with this particular project and more about, you know, finding contacts, creating this ongoing process that might work out with other projects in the future. So a side note to that would be, for me, have more than one project going on, because it might be that the one you're pitching is not the one they will be interested in. So obviously the pitching event will be about the project you have applied with, but as others have said, you can engage with the contact that you're speaking to and introduce, you know, this other idea that you have, and they might be interested in reading that one too. So yes, so it's a lot more about that than the project specifically, which I think it's a lot more important personally, because it gives you more chances. You have a lot more chances to succeed in the future than if it's just about, you know, optioning your project that day. Personally, I think that's what I'd say.
Yeah, and for me, like, I guess, don't be intimidated and don't be disheartened. Your career in film and television is a marathon. Honestly, like half of it is literally you just got to keep on running. Like, just don't stop, keep on running. That's literally it.
So, well, my advice would be to use it as an opportunity to really understand your project and to make it as slick as possible. Because if people don't believe that you don't know what you're doing, or that if people don't think that you know what you're doing with it, then they're not going to get interested in it. It's a really good opportunity to just make your whole project slick as a pitch. And regardless of whether you get anything later, you're going to get contacts. And I reiterate that the actual Market Hub, we've had interest outside of the pitch by having our project on the Market Hub. And I think that's something that we wouldn't have realised without the project.
Yeah, if we hadn't done the pitch, we wouldn't have been up there. We wouldn't have rebranded. And I suppose my big one would be, you're selling something visual. Make your presentation visual.
Yeah, it can be a lot more visual online than it can be up on stage.
I echo what Jessica said, really, in that it's not just about a specific project. It's about getting to know people in the industry, developing relationships for that project, but other projects and down the road. And, you know, there's a lot of musical chairs in the industry as well. So someone may be at the BBC now, but 2 years from now, they'll be at BFI or Lionsgate and so on. So making those relationships is really the more philosophical way to look at it, and not be disappointed if your project doesn't work for them at that time. The other thing I'd say is, you know, try and get honest feedback about your project. They may not be right if someone is critical about it, but if you get enough feedback and 3 people say the same thing, you know, your pitch isn't clear enough, or it's not passionate enough, or it's not, you know, there's too many projects like that out there, or whatever it may be. It's really important to know that, because you can work on something else, or you can adjust the project in some way, or your pitch. So it's about, you know, developing the opportunities to develop the relationships for that project when it's perhaps further advanced, and for other projects in the future.
Yeah, and also ask yourself, why are you the right person to tell this story? What can you bring which is unique to you to this story? Because there are oftentimes conversations are actually about your motivations, what you're really trying to say, what the story is really about, even more than just the plot or the nitty-gritty of the actual narrative. So go deep into your pitch, really.
Last but not least, So we went first at Pitchbox, and there's challenges with that, and of course going last there's challenges with that because all the advice has been given. I guess from me, my advice would be three things. One, be prepared, know your project inside out, because you will get interrogated, you will get questions from left field, and if you know your project inside out, you can answer those and not flummox during the pitch. Secondly, be yourself. Remember that people do business with people, and that this is about fostering relationships for the future as much as about that individual project that you're there to talk about today. And finally, be bold, because if you're not in it, you're not going to win it.
Brilliant advice, guys. Feel the burn, feel the pain, and push through. I love it. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for giving us your time. And it's so lovely to connect with you all again and hear where you're at with your projects, but also most importantly, just to see you. So lovely to see you all. Thank you for joining us today. And we wish you all the success with your projects, but also all the future projects. And thank you for your time and for all the advice you've given. I think that's it from me. So thank you. We all have a wave. Bye. Lovely to have you all, and take care. See you soon.